on any of my devices that you've actually gone live. Nothing indicates.
Oh, I need a second monitor or something. I'm going to set that up when I have to change desks. All right, we're all about ready.
I mean, when they hit play.
All right. Why is this not?
You're sharing. You got to.
Oh,
You're you're not supposed to share. You're just supposed to go
just
on the
we're
other
on. Do
menu.
it. Do it, Joe. Oh, bloody hell.
Good evening. Welcome to the After Hours show. My name's Joe in Norway. I'll be your cook this evening. I'm joined by Ann Lee, a retired college professor and a community member at the Daily Coast. And as a community member at the Daily Coast, they're a member of the National Council of Independent Scholars and is a contributor to the book, The Political Economy of Art, Making the Nation of Culture. Hey there, Ann.
Hey there.
Hey, see, we're getting better every week, aren't we?
Ah, yeah, sure. I
Lord
think we're.
above.
Oh
Lord
no, we're just
above.
stepping backward.
Oh, speaking of
Believe
above.
me, we are set. We are. All right, carry on.
Okay. Oh,
Oh,
don't drop my share. Oh,
no,
there we
no, I'm
go.
not. I'm
Oh,
not. I
okay.
I just wanted to reposition the thing and I can't. Well, anyway, the hell with
Oh,
it.
speaking of above, good morning, good evening. In a few hours, Japan time, it will have been the 80th year since the bombing of Nagasaki. We were recently there a few months ago. I'll be talking a little bit later about that. Um, where to begin? One of the issues around the bombings for the survivors was the thing that they craved most was water. Everything was completely parched and dehydrated from the bomb, and you could never get rehydrated enough. And there's this constant need for water, dreams of water. So what I thought I would make is a little vegetable bath. Uh, Osen is called. It's traditionally made of stewed fish cakes and vegetables over long periods of time. You can go into restaurants and you'll see these uh, stock baths of different shapes and types of fish and seafood cakes and vegetables, and you can order a bowl. It's like a hearty soup or stew, very popular in the winter. I always confuse osen with onsen, which is the volcanic hot springs, but they're very similar because they also cook food in the onsen as well. There's the onsen egg, which is the slow cooked egg that is slowly poached in the onsen water. We're keeping it all vegetarian here, so we're gonna be focused on some root vegetables and a couple tubers. I've got carrots, I've got potato, we have some turnips here, and we have a very um, very well aged rutabaga, or Swede, as they say in English. Compliments of the local grocery. It was uh, one thing about Norwegians is that they don't like scarred and damaged fruits and vegetables, and then anything with a speck or any kind of blemish is like they're not going to be able to sell. They donated this, or they just gave it to us, so that was very kind. So
All
this is
right.
essentially from last year's harvest. So I would have I would have added some kohlrabi, which they call knutkål here. But my kohlrabi, since we got back in town, by the time got the plants planted, uh, they're smaller than the diameter of my little pinky here. We've basically got nothing. We've got some snot peas. But what I'll do is make a vegetable stock or dashi with kombu, shiitake, and some ginger. Very simple ingredients. Probably throw in some mirin, and we'll be doing a rapid vegetable soup. Basically, we're going to put it under pressure. So I'll let you get to filling us in on all the positive developments happening in the world. I'll do the prep. We'll get this under pressure, and then just let me know when I can butt in, and then we'll talk a little bit about Nagasaki.
Okay, doke. We'll talk.
Oh, forgot to mention, I might add some of those special flavor crystals to just kind of boost the umami in this one, if we have to. Don't tell James C.
Little high blood pressure, whatever. Yeah. Always important to remember Nagasaki. Busy week, stupidly busy week. I mean, with stupid people. It's a busy week with stupid people, needless to say. Trump showed that he's losing it more, came out on the roof of the White House it was a stunt. It was to talk to the press. And, also because he needed to sort of break up the idiocy of it. And he wanted to introduce his new architect for the extension that will be nearly twice the size of the White House itself. So that's coming up. All privately financed. Trump said that he would donate money too. Probably not. He'll manage to figure out a way not to have donated any money to a $200 million addition to the east wing of the White House. Essentially, it takes out the First Lady's office and some other relatively minor communications offices. But there won't be a First Lady's office probably there. They'll probably relocate it somewhere else. Anyway, so that's coming, and the weirdly conservative, although I don't think it's a conservative thing. There's always going to be a market for building. Someone's got to design churches, just like someone's got to design Motel 6s, etc. So pretty much that's what's happening. Anyway, busy week. At the beginning of the week, the strangest stuff. I mean, in my week, I started with thinking about why is it that Trump is starting to have conversations about people who are hot and not hot, whatever that means. So Trump on his True Social channel decided that Sylvia Sweeney was more hot than Taylor Swift. and essentially it's commenting on his own whatever idiocy. It's an ideological thing. Needless, in the midst of killing jobs, jacking up prices, and hating Taylor Swift, uh, Trump weirdly sort of claims that he himself makes women hot, and so he implied that at the front end, and then did what Fox News was trying to do, and trying to offset the jobs report, the firing of the Bureau of Labor Statistics data director, just because she was a Biden appointee. I mean, had she been there from 2 or 3, administrations ago or whatever, it was pretty nuts that he would even get rid of. But the attack has generally been on, of course, data and getting the public to mistrust data by calling it fake. And you can see that this has been a continuing exercise, and to claim that there was some sort of rigging going on in the jobs report. Well, it does show some bad stuff about black unemployment rate. It demonstrates how fragile that the U.S. economy is, and it only being made worse by the tariffs foolishness. And the housing market, for example, looks like it did around 2008. So that spending patterns are changing, and labor market is vulnerable. The stock market is vulnerable as well. And despite any other kind of weird claims that everything is so much better, and of course, Trump calls Taylor Smith a loser, and he says her net worth, though, has risen actually to over $1 billion. And but Trump in May claimed that she was no longer hot, after claiming also that she was no longer, whatever. So that happened. You can see that cultural issues offset kind of strange, problematic numbers for Trump, and he's clueless about the numbers. So he makes up these things that come up on the side. I think it was at the beginning of the week that Peter Navarro, his trade guy, or one of his trade guys, and we know him, of course, from his being jailed for 4 months for not answering a subpoena. And he claims to be an economist, but for some reason, it's just, and he's part of the reason why we have this tariff problem, among many others. Although it's been a bad week for economists in the White House. There's sort of happy talk coming out of the Council of Economic Advisors, and kind of jockeying around with the Secretary of the Treasury to see who's going to be the next Fed chair. So that's a sort of residual from last week. All of which is sort of stupid, because I think Trump only likes Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, because he resembles a younger Val Kilmer. So I there's this thing that goes on in Trump's brain that thinks about central casting. And but needless to say, it's been a rough week. Medvedev, the former president of Russia, who's now on the Russia's Security Council, and he usually does drunk stuff. He tends to put out statements after he's had a few, and so his claim at the beginning of the week was that Trump shouldn't think that the video archive of his past immoralities is only in Mossad's hands. So he was covering several things there. The Epstein deal, where there is this claim that Epstein had the late Jeff Epstein had a connection to Mossad, that he'd done some work for Mossad or whatever, and that was sort of there. And so Medvedev was picking up on that. and suggesting, and there's some evidence, but it's a little fuzzy, of course, because it is the issue of whether it was Russian military intelligence or the the foreign SVR folks or the domestic FSB folks who who had this kind of information. Somebody in Russia has it. Bulgaria apparently has it, and now the Israelis perhaps have it. And so there's a lot of sort of disinformation outside the U.S. that's sort of going on with this activity. Anyway, that was kind of embarrassing to Trump because it sort of suggested, well, there must be compromise, and so they have something, and we don't know quite what it is, but it sort of overlaps with the White House not willing to just sort of release all this information. They're trying to carve off or isolate things that you could show, but then are redacted, and so you don't know. And they're trying to obfuscate the issue in terms of like how many times we're going to see more of this. How many times does Trump's name appear? And then all of this against the issue of subpoenaing Ghislaine Maxwell to come before the Oversight Committee in the House. And there's a big deal made out of that. At the front of the week, they wanted to put the Clintons under the microscope for some bizarre reason, really having very little to do with the case. And essentially all of it is still Trump's responsibility. With Acosta, the labor secretary, being engaged because he was the whatever it is, the prosecutor in Miami or whatever. It's just all this stuff is going on, and it's not that it doesn't make sense. The polling shows that the MAGAs are annoyed, and so we're continuing on with this and everything else. With all respect, that is the tariffs that came up today on Scaramucci Day, are being enforced. This was the deadline for making it happen, and forcing other countries to come in and deal with the U.S. is a very artificial creation of conflict on matters that won't have any real impact for another couple months, because that's the kind of issue about how you do tariffs and trade, and the accounting element of it, and the length of the sort of the supply chain. But anyway, needless to say, there's all kinds of lies that billions of dollars are coming into the Treasury. Well, yes and no. And we're all beginning to pay for it in higher prices. So it has all of those elements. Everything is connected in the sense that there's disinformation to distract you from a terrible economy. Tonight I put up a thing. I'm posting a thing on coffee prices elsewhere, and coffee prices are going to go up. They will double. Some predict will double in a couple of months, and they already have in certain markets. And sort of that's interesting. It's no different than the gas price issue, where Trump will claim that gas is $1.99, where it never was $1.99 anywhere. And it's just more of this is going on. So you have all of those things overlapping and interconnected. And I haven't even talked about Ukraine yet. Some people are more worried about Taylor Swift and whether she is or isn't hot. The issue with Sweeney is whether she is or isn't a Republican. So there's that.
I have to admit, I stocked up on coffee 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I am too. I'm buying it. I'm a cheap person, and I kind of I don't necessarily want super, well flavored coffee. I drink coffee for the drugs anyway. So I'm down to, I don't know, 36 cents an ounce for my coffee. And I know most people can't live without something around $6 or $8 an ounce or no, I mean 60 or 80 cents an ounce for their coffee. So Anyway, I was talking at the beginning of last week or in last week about Scaramucci units, which are 10 or 11 days, which was the length of time Anthony Scaramucci worked for the White House in the first Trump administration. So there are Scaramucci units, very similar, but not identical to Thomas Friedman units, which I think are 30 days. But anyway, the Scaramucci unit deadline passed today. And so the Trump unfortunately made it the same day for the Ukrainian ceasefire as, he threatened Putin, and I think Putin has just ignored him, mainly because Trump gave him two different deadlines, today's deadline and then a 50-day deadline, which is going to come up in September, which for some people is just inexplicable, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, it turns out it's Taco Day. Trump always chickens out, and Trump claimed that he was disappointed that Putin sort of ignored today's deadline. On the one hand, Trump tried to make a big deal out of it, and on the other hand, it's just ambivalence and incompetence at work. So, lest you think things aren't happening elsewhere, decertification of voting machines is sort of rolling around. They're trying to reduce the number of possible alternatives or specifications for voting machines in the United States. And you know what sort of that means. On the one hand, it would probably be a good idea to have a single uniform voting machine for federal elections in the United States. On the other hand, if you have certain people trying to seize control of the voting apparatus, that's not so good a thing because, the democratic accountability and controls over that might be wanting. So that's happening in the background. I'm going to get to that in a moment. We are in this sort of post-Doge age where there are less of these Dogites who are still in the federal government, although I'm going to talk a little in a second about big balls. But needless to say, other things happened this week. There was an attempt to recover Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, noted flag of St. George or whatever, the St. George's cross on his chest guy, and noted drunk. I don't think that he's done what he promised. That is, if he became Secretary of Defense, that he would stop drinking. I don't think he stopped drinking, but we don't sort of know. Needless to say, he's sort of decided sort of new things. That is, he's going to bring back a monument by, I think, Jacob Ezekiel's reconciliation monument. That is, it is the second tallest monument in Arlington Cemetery. It is Ezekiel was actually fought in the Civil War. And also has because he was a graduate of the Virginia Military Institute, VMI, and but he was also a painter.
He must have been on the Union forces, I assume.
No. He was a Confederate. No, he had a Confederate battle flag in his Rome, Italy studio for 20 some odd years. And, he's sort of a classicist and has done a variety of sculptures. But this one more abstract, of course, or more metaphoric sculpture sits in section, 15 or 16, where in 1898, they they have started placing Confederate soldiers in Arlington. So that's sort of, there's a whole Confederate section. And this sculpture, fairly moderately tall sculpture, got pulled out in 2020 or 21 because of Biden and a bunch of other people saying, well, we really shouldn't have all these Confederate things sitting in, traitorous stuff sitting in Union territory. But needless to say, it was sitting in storage, and they had planned to put it in another place. They had actually had a site of the the one Newmarket battle, which Confederates did a moderately good job in. This was early on around Antietam, the time of Antietam. But anyway, the point being is that there's this huge sculpture that has a mammy giving handing a white child to a Confederate officer to kiss. That's on the lower ring of it. And, anyway, it's a Confederate monument. Let's put it that way. It has certain things which refer to the lost cause. I mean, just from a imagery point of view, it's also more interesting because Ezekiel was gay and there's other stuff that goes on. There's a whole story that goes along with this. Anyway, it's coming back, but they've delayed the reinstallation of it because Hegseth said, we ought to have heritage, history, blah, blah, blah. But fortunately, the time frame for it will be to bring it back in 2027. Yet it was announced at the same time, I think it's Alfred Pike, the sculpture that got pulled down by demonstrators, which is more about Freemasonry, but it also is about a guy who had his Indian Indian mercenaries with his troops. Is a former Confederate general during the Civil War. He had his Indian guides, I guess, associates or whatever, scalp Union captives. So there's all kinds of barbarism involved with this guy, even though he is part of Freemasonry in the U.S. And that you could, I don't know if you do or don't want to sort of build all your conspiracy theories around this sort of issue, but it did get pulled down and got sprayed with lots of paint, and it's sort of broken and it needs to be re-welded and stuff. So Hegseth on the same day announced that he was going to get this one up probably in a couple months. So it is this whole revisionism, right? It's to bring back certain Confederate things because this is the post BLM stuff and yada yada. So retconning the Confederacy is coming, and of course they want the lost cause, that is that the Civil War was not fought over slavery, but rather states' rights or some other heritage issue. So revisionism is running around. The fact is that both of these sculptures, that is the Reconciliation Monument in Arlington and this Pike sculpture, all came up during Jim Crow, and so these are now 100 of 700 Confederate sculptures have been removed, and we'll see over the next couple of years, the Trump years, whether any more of those 100 that got removed will be returned, or whether, in fact, you're going to get new ones. But that's a whole nother story. And anyway, so fakery and treason is at work. Minor things happened. A planned meeting of which probably still occurred, that led by J.D. Vance about the Epstein files, was supposed to occur. It probably did occur. The question is, or the question was raised by a member of the press corps of whether it was or wasn't going to happen, and Trump said he didn't know, and Vance went, homina homina. So it's sort of interesting there. The fact is they can have all the meetings they want. The issue is whether they're really actually ever going to release those files, because everybody wants them. Everybody wants them. There's no one who wants to defend them. There's pretty few. And then there's other issues going on in the background. People, January 6th, prosecutor Moore, one January 6th, involved a member of the sub-member of the FBI got fired yesterday or day before yesterday, and so there was that. Day before yesterday, an attempt by what's her name, Kristi Noem, to recruit younger ICE members. That is, and this happened in conjunction with something else, but we're going to be back to big balls in a second. But Kristi Noem wanted to acknowledge that they were going to lower as well as raise the range of years. You could be younger or older to join ICE. So if you're still, I think, physically fit, but not very smart, you don't have to go to college. There's kind of minimal requirements, a kind of a Kyle Rittenhouse sort of thing. In fact, Kyle Rittenhouse will probably become a member of ICE under these kinds of rules. But anyway, so there's a recruitment effort out to get 10,000 more ICE people to go run around and grab people, which happened this past week. Apparently, the ICE folks or DHS folks apparently rented, a la the Patriot Front people, a Penske box truck to ferry their minions into a parking lot of a Home Depot in order to grab people. So people were making the comparison between the Patriot Front, which is a right-wing sort of Hitler Youth sort of group, white supremacist group, that has a fashion sense, let's put it that way, and the DHS ICE folks for doing the same thing because they like hauling people around rather in official vehicles, but Penske rental trucks. So that's a little side event, if you will. It unfortunately makes good photo opportunities. So let's see, that happened, and then South Park made an attempt to yammer about to identify all this kind of craziness of Kristi Noem. So their episode on Wednesday was sort of about that, and they've subsequently they've managed to melt her cartoon face and other things. You can find the South Park episode on the internet and sort of revel in the idea that South Park, after God knows how many years, has become quote unquote relevant again, which the South Park folks proclaimed. Let's see. At the same moment, literally at the same time that we have the mention of the Trump Union, that is the Trump youth kind of move, we also see that Tulsi Gabbard declassified something from the Dunham investigation that seemed, only if you were kind of drunk or something, would implicate people from the Obama administration or either Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton. So this was part of the oversight committees subpoenaing a whole bunch of folks, not Trump, not Obama, but all kinds of people who would make hay for essentially Republican talking points. So that's amusing. It pretty much goes on the same lines as Benghazi, for example, the Benghazi investigation, which managed to spend $30 million and come up with nothing. So all these things were going on. The youth thing went on at the same time that what's her name, Puro, Judge Janine, who is now officially, because unfortunately the Senate voted for it, the District of Columbia, the council for the District of Columbia, she's the Fed who is in charge of the legal matters there. She mentioned that in light of that this 18-year-old thing was that is lowering the recruitment age, was also important in terms of prosecuting thugs, 14 and 15-year-olds, mainly because this would displace the 14 and 15-year-old sex trafficking that is the part of the Epstein stuff. You can see how these things sort of try to, they bring up one thing to offset some other piece of news. So Puro talks about lowering the age of prosecuting teenagers as adults because, and we're finally getting to Big Balls. Big Balls himself, Edward Korestein, who is now working for the Social Security Administration, where before he was part of the big Doge sees all the data folks. So he's still in the government. Apparently, and if you look at the police report, he had his cell phone stolen while accosting two people in the street who seemingly were carjacking someone, but the reality seemed not to really. There's a bunch of stories, and so certain members of the government, including Trump, waved his photo around because he'd been bloodied a couple of times. They punched him in the head a couple of times or his nose, so there's a lot of blood. So I guess he lost his phone. Nobody got carjacked. They haven't captured the assailants, I think. I think they had a line on them. But anyway, the point is this little kerfuffle in the street gained dimensions that no one had ever seen before. That is, there were 10 assailants when in fact there were only two. All kinds of other stuff occurred. And so Trump waves this thing around. Puro talks about it to prosecute teenagers, which is the kind of summer thing anyway, because, it's not unlike Trump and the New York Five. So it had that same dimension to it. So there was a coordinated effort on the communications of the White House to bring all these silly things together at levels not thought possible.
Are you telling me that Big Balls got his ass kicked?
Oh yeah, he got his ass kicked. They just handed it to him. I mean, I don't think he got a punch in. I think he got probably sucker punched, and then they copped his phone. But as I sort of opined that they're the right wing, because they're showing this image of him without his shirt and blood all over him, which makes for a very provocative image. I mean, it's even sexual in that sense, with all due respect. They want to make him, or at least I opine that they want to make him, or they'll make somebody else into what the Nazis used in early on in the 30s, Horst Wessel, who was killed for not paying his rent, essentially. That's just other matters were.
MAGA martyrs?
Yeah, MAGA martyrs that resemble Nazis. So that's all happening. History repeats itself. So it's been a long week. And remember, Big Balls joined the government when he was 19. So this is this idea. And they still have that guy who's, 21 or 22, who's the deputy counterterrorism guy at the FBI, whose his job prior to joining the FBI as its deputy director of counterterror, was bagging stuff in a supermarket. I think there was something else that he did, but gardening. That's right. So I guess there's hope. There's hope for employment.
No, when Big Balls got his ass kicked, the media was reporting that Trump was intending to federalize DC. What does that actually mean? And
I don't know.
where do
I
we
think,
stand with that?
well, it's kind of
So
localized
that,
martial law, essentially. He could bring in, I suppose, the National Guard that would facilitate what he tried to do in LA. I assume somehow the DC Metro Police would get federalized, or it would be guard towers, machine guns, something. Who knows? He's trying to do what he did in 2020 with BLM, essentially. And if you don't remember what happened in BLM in the summer of 2020, it was pretty bizarre. They brought in helicopters to dust down or dust off people standing in the street, which is incredibly dangerous. I mean, in terms of, the helicopter smashing into a building. They did that, and, they brought out horse police and blah, 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 all that stuff. So that's what he wants. I mean, it's pretty clear that that's what he wants.
so he's trying to instigate in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Los Angeles everywhere. And fortunately,
Embracing that states' rights business.
Oh, geez. Well, and the background against which that is operating is the reapportionment or the redistricting that Texas is trying to do. And the Democrats in the state legislature decided to run for it, which is a tactic used by several other kinds of legislators before, is to force them to try and give up trying to redistrict because they don't have a quorum. And quorum rules can be finessed, and you don't have to threaten to arrest people. But it is interesting that it has all these a lot of bluster all over the place. Governor Pritzker in Illinois says he's not going to allow Texas Rangers or state police or troopers to arrest people in his state. And I guess similarly, although I don't think Hochul, the governor of New York, didn't, said, we're going to resist this as well, because some of them went to New York instead of Illinois. Appropriate, obviously.
Hence the request that the FBI go round up people.
Yes, yes. There's a whole thing about getting the FBI to, exceed their authority. Now, it's not truly exceeding their authority. It just means that the feds are lazy and they don't want to make this into a big deal, because to be manipulated by Texas to do that work. But it's obvious that that's what's happening. It's, as they call it euphemistically, overreach. So overreaching is going to occur. And then, of course, there's a response from California where Gavin Newsom says, well, we're going to just reorganize all our districts. And they have a more independent redistricting authority. So that could actually happen, which would offset the 5 congressional districts gained by the Texans. And, it's just, it's weasel behavior relative to apportionment, because you only do the apportionment after every census. And then this week, Trump claims that he's going to try to circumvent the census, even though there's a constitutional problem. And so that they're going to do a new census that counts everybody, or counts people who are not illegal, or whatever that means. And it doesn't make much sense. But anyway, the idea is to separate out the people who are here illegally, which doesn't necessarily show up, although you can statistically do it, in the original 2020 census. So essentially, we're trying to do what is supposed to happen in 2030 in the middle of the 10-year period of the decade, and it's just simply another means to seize power. So all that's going on. This was a busy week at levels not thought possible. Thank you for your attention to this matter. How long is that?
What?
Is that thing going to be pressure cooking?
Oh, we're done now. We're just you lasted longer than the vegetables were cooking. That's for sure.
There we go.
Oh, cute little baby.
Yeah,
Oh,
Gerberism.
force-fed war. Poor baby. Aren't we all?
Drones. It's I haven't even gone to Ukraine. Drone stuff is there's a the Russians are getting better with their drones. The Ukrainians are also getting better. So it's kind of
hold on with the Russians. I got some slides for you.
okie doke.
We this is a piece of art by the Winston Smith, the famed Dead Kennedys logo designer
Oh yes,
and
yes,
collagist.
absolutely.
Sadly, he had a heart attack.
Oh,
he lives down in some remote canyon that requires a lot of. He's gonna have to. Poor fella. Wish him well.
indeed.
So, as I mentioned earlier, in a few hours, it will be 11:02 and 35 seconds, I believe. 80 years ago, this day, the US dropped the second nuclear bomb, plutonium bomb,
Big one
on Nagasaki.
Terrible.
This is a view of Nagasaki from the south. It's an incredible landscape. The geography is very, very mountainous, and there's barely any city on flat land. You reach within a few streets, you reach some hill or steep mountain, and it just goes vertical. There's slantivators, elevators all over the place, gondola, of course. This is looking north. The city center is to the right, which was a main target. It was difficult. The bombing mission originally was to bomb a region, an industrial region in the north of Kyushu. This is on Nagasaki is on the island of Kyushu, which is in the south. The original bombing site was in Fukuoka in north of Kyushu, where it's industrial area. There's an industrial area where the bomb hit here, actually. Um, the city center, with the majority of population, is down there on the right. There's about 250 to 300,000 people. And about 200, the bomb was off by about 2 kilometers. And tucked within these mountains here is the hypocenter where the bomb um, was detonated. Um, the place was devastated all through uh, to where I'm standing, basically, so several kilometers away. Fires took over and destroyed after the initial blast. Um, Unlike Hiroshima, the bomb here had somewhat limited destruction due to the geography. It was basically enclosed by mountains, so the blast was kind of contained within this area, and it was largely fires that spread um, afterwards. This is uh, this is a statue uh, at ground zero, the hypocenter, indicating the time. And there's sculptures and statues and memorials all over the place. There's not a lot of how do you say, touristy things going on. There's tours, many tours, but I was quite surprised at how respectful everything was, but generally somber all over the place. When you get off the tram, you have sign, this is the atomic bomb stop. Moving space about 250 meters from the hypocenter is the Remembrance Hall, which is a circular enclosure. It's tree lined, and then on the interior, it has a fountain, and it has 70,000 LED lights that are in this circular fountain that light up at night, representing the 70,000 lives that were lost. Some of the LEDs in the water.
Hmm.
Underneath the pool is the hall and the storage facility and catalogs of histories and catalogs of names of those lost. You descend down several flights. There's fountains inside with running water, illuminations of those lost. These are the walls made of concrete, not wood. I'll just read a little bit of a sign that they have in the Remembrance Hall here. Here you may silently mourn the victims of the atomic bombing and make prayers for peace. The glass pillars, there are 12 illuminated glass pillars in the Remembrance Hall, along with a registry shelf at the far end, which holds the names of all the victims of the atomic bombing. The upper sections of the pillars form the outside walls of the skylight, the center portion of which may be opened. The pillars are positioned so that they form a line which points toward the place where the atomic bomb exploded. Their illuminated forms symbolize calls for peace going out to the skies of the world. The registry shelf for the names of the atomic victims is 9 meters high, it has 27 shelves, and each shelf has 9 volumes. The names of the atomic bomb victims are kept here. In front of the shelf is a low table where people may lay flower arrangements or paper cranes in tribute to those who passed away. The outer structure is made of glass and steel framed. Inner shelves open semi-automatically. The registry volumes are stored in boxes which maintain their pristine condition by keeping out ultraviolet light and moisture. The number of victims, atomic bomb victims registered in Nagasaki City as of August 9th, 2024 is 198,785, recorded in 202 volumes. Concrete walls of the Remembrance Hall were hand-pressed with cedar panels, giving the surface an uneven, varied texture. The cedar rings are meant to convey a sense of history and the passing of time. Please feel free to sit on the wood benches that line both sides of the hall. Any groups wishing to hold flower laying ceremonies inside the hall should contact our staff. They will explain the details of the procedure and inform you of the schedule of the day concerned. So after you come up from the volumes, you can sit and watch videos of interviews with victims and survivors and make origami. Oh, it's quite peaceful and reflective space. Next to it is the Atomic Bombing Museum, which descends in a semicircular ramp down to a museum that covers the extensive and horrendous history of nuclear weapons and our inability to stop them. And you know, all around you'll find various sculptures. This is an overview next to the museum. The museum is about 250 meters. Um, Gives you a good, huge photo of the extent after. And it's just incredible, the devastation, and amazing how it's grown back. This is the main hypocenter. As I mentioned, there's sculptures and memorials. This is a memorial to the um, Koreans that were lost in bombing. I believe in Hiroshima, they were kept outside of the main park, but have now been incorporated into the original. So it wasn't just Japanese lives that were lost. There were obviously prisoners of war. There were Koreans that have been first getting into slave labor from Japanese occupation, Chinese as well, Dutch. These are the foundations of a prison just up over the hill from the hypocenter. All that remains are the foundations. And this obelisk marks the point where 500 meters above the bomb was detonated. The only thing standing really of any significance is this portion of Roman Catholic cathedral, which is kind of wild. It was this close to the epicenter. I just turned around from that photo of the obelisk, and this is a park on the other side, which marks that's sea level 60 meters, but it also marks the ground level. So the blast wiped away several meters of topsoil. And there's a cedar tree. Must have been planted quite soon after. Is the setting sun in Nagasaki. $80. Doesn't seem like we've gotten very far in terms of eradicating these things. And actually, I believe we're getting into a crazier area of tactical nuclear weapons. Is that what you're going to talk to me about?
That is, it's more acceptable from a doctrine point of view, and we may even get a chance to see one in our lifetimes. Tactical nuclear weapons, which aren't in the count of the strategic weapons. Both Russia has 5,000 and the United States has 5,000. There are a couple hundred more that the Russians have, but that's what the count currently is. And yes, treaties for this. Yes, there's a intermediate missile treaty that isn't, has been problematic, which includes the use of tactical nuclear weapons. So anyway,
Well, our vegetables are done. I'll let you get on to discussing the Ukraine issue while I assemble a pot.
hokey doke.
It tastes like it's been cooking for hours, stewing. The only flavor that's missing, we nailed the umami. It's just missing that fish cake flavor.
That that special
Mm,
saltiness,
mm,
whatever.
mm.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about our schedule in a couple of minutes, but let me quickly say that it's just another week in Ukraine with terrible stuff discussing the potential of a meeting between Trump and Putin. God knows what's going to happen there. There's been also discussion of including Zelensky in the talks, and that's a whole nother set of issues. And it's pretty clear that's not it's a troubling aspect and has yet to be fully realized. And where they're going to meet is kind of up in the air as well. So that's the current state of that. It's also pretty clear that today or yesterday, the Institute for the Study of War put out a report on drone warfare, and it's moving pretty fast. In other words, you already have gone through a kind of generation of electronic warfare and control of drones, both the close first person view drones and the issue of larger drones that support the battle zone. And that may not seem important, but drones have sort of offset the use of artillery. You don't have a lot of talk about artillery barrages as much as you see people getting knocked off by drones and vehicles knocked off by drones. And pretty much it's all the same stuff. It's vague to see, the United States has, I think, resumed or whatever, supplying stuff, equipment or materiel. A lot of it is being sort of funneled through the European Union, or NATO. So there's whole kinds of other stuff, and the other background against which this is occurring is oil. The Indians have chosen to announce that they were going to buy U.S. oil or non-Russian oil, let's put it that way. And so there's other things going on in the background, much of which is just simply sort of finagling, and the Shadow Fleet continues to roll along, and though however many, it's 1,000 ships, I think, are and not very good ships, are not well maintained or designed, that are carrying oil all over the damn place as I speak. So that's pretty much it. Anyway, another horrible week in Ukraine, as if you've listened earlier, we were at Adnan Hussein's office hour, and Dr. Saltzman was talking about. He and Dr. Saltzman were talking about many things. Mainly, the fact is the horribleness of genocide, and it continues. I hesitate to say that there is a genocidal element that always lurks in the Ukrainian discussion as well, but I think that pales in terms of the magnitude for such a small population in terms of the Israel-Gaza situation and the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. So there's that. I guess I should talk in a second, unless you want to talk, Joe, about the schedule for tonight.
Tonight, I believe we have the night gallery
We have night gallery.
and poker face. That's all I know. Don't have much
Uh,
information on them, but if
yeah,
John's
ditto,
around,
ditto. Is John? Are you there to tell us some more about this?
John is here. Can you hear me?
yeah,
Yes, we
loud
can
and
hear you,
Oh,
clear.
John.
right. Well, tonight on the night gallery, we have um, James Farentino starring in the
Oh,
episode, along with his real life wife, Michelle Lee,
ah,
and Jonathan Harris, who you may remember as Dr. Zachary Smith of Lost in Space.
oh, the pain.
Yes. Uh, and uh, oh my goodness, Jeanette Nolan, who we saw a couple of times in the Twilight Zone. They are getting together to give us a segment called Since Aunt Ada Came to Stay. And James Ferrantino is a little off-put, I guess I would say, by the visiting aunt. And we'll see why in tonight's episode.
All righty. Yes, I guess we're going to get Poker Face tonight. I don't know if Travis is here to talk about it. We had a little issue of trying to get it to run last week. Hopefully it'll run tonight. We're looking forward to it after Night Gallery.
And on the Saturday evening, I'll be showing Cinema Attack. Will open with Brave New Films documentary on the Gaza journalists, the attacks on Gaza journalists. Try to
Excellent.
watch that one again, and then I'll follow that up by a Drop Site News just released a short 10-minute documentary on the Israeli bombing of Beirut. Someone had basically filmed a few hours after and collected footage. So I'll have a look at that.
That should be interesting. What time is it? At
That's
6?
at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock on Saturday.
Yes.
Yes. 2 o'clock, I think. Going to do weekly marks, and yes, we'll do more reading, perhaps of volume 3 of Marxist Capital, because we've been comparing the Engels edited version with the non-edited, the version not edited by Marx. So anyway, that's a minor interest, and we'll probably spend 2 days on that, Saturday and Sunday. John, do you want to talk about Star Trek, The Next Generation?
Sure. So
Sunday?
this Sunday at I believe it'll be 4 o'clock. Adnan's not doing his segment on Sunday, is he?
I don't think so, but
No,
I'm
that's
willing
just
to give up what I'm doing
oh,
to allow it.
Yeah, if he's not doing it, then we'll be seeing it at our regular time of 4 o'clock Eastern time. And I can say with some confidence that it'll be an improvement over last week's episode. It is it is called Pen Pals, and
my.
Mr. Data has discovered someone in distress, and he is trying to help her.
oh boy, I hope Chloe's around with her cringeometer.
Indeed.
Being a
Yes,
pen, she's a professional pen pal there, so I'm sure she might
that's
have
right.
something to say.
That's right. Yeah.
This precedes the age of text messaging as well. So yes, it's going to have interesting
Mhm.
implications. Lane is going to play music afterwards. And Lane, are you here to tell
I
us?
am here. Well, I'm actually, yeah, I am here. Yes. I'm not there, but I'm here. Yeah. Uh, I think I hope Bruce is listening in because he's been pestering me for a goodly number of months to do a breakdown on Paul Butterfield and Michael Bloomfield. So I want to do the Michael Bloomfield story. He's a tremendous musician.
An excellent band.
Hell of a guitarist. Unless, of course, someone dies between now and then it'll be about them.
Yeah, we're not doing any Ozzy Osbourne stuff. I mean,
No, I can't stand the prick. Just untalented and rubbish.
indeed. All righty. Well, thank you, Lane. And of course, at 2 p.m. on Sunday, there is Weekly Marks. We have a lot of other things coming up. We've had some really interesting guests and things. The Red Hour on Tuesday. Some other things. Things that are funny, things that are noisy, and of course, this and that information every day, weekday at 4. Whereupon we've been sort of trudging through Anwar Sheikh's analysis of capitalist competition. So anyway, I know that that excites everyone.
On Mondays for the writing workshop, Nate's been reading Studs Terkel.
Yes.
And,
Oh, that's right. Nate
talking about
in Wisconsin has been reading from Studs Terkel, which has been very interesting.
the
In
Red
terms of,
Hour on Tuesday.
and the Red Hour on Tuesday. Come join us at the theautonomouscollective.net. As you can see, we look at things in other places. As if you were looking earlier, we were visiting with or showing live stream on Adnan Hussein's office hours version of office hours, as we could say. I may even do a version of office hours, but not on a Friday. But anyway, that's for the future. I think we're getting close to the end.
Yeah, so just to review the food here, we made Japanese vegetable osen, basically a little stew of cooked vegetables. We've got carrot, potato, rutabaga, and turnips, and we used kombu and shiitake. And this is the combination for making a vegetarian dashi. So kombu is the traditional seaweed to use, and a little bit of soy sauce and some of those magic flavor crystals. Very
Yum.
easy on the belly and nice and calming, very juicy. And next week we'll be back with lots of harvest. So probably be getting back to the baking and the cakes and the tarts and the whatnots.
Yes, he's been doing a lot of that, particularly with those new stainless pans.
Oh Lord. The banana bread is coming out very nicely.
Excellent. All righty then. I guess we're going to try and do better next week. We better do better next week. See you next week. Thank you very much.
Wow.